You find the skeletal remains of a person, most likely an elf, as the bones have a slight silver tinge and are much lighter than any other humanoid bones you know. On the body, you discover a scroll that unrolls as soon as you touch it. There is a smell of burning wood in the air, and the scroll itself seems to be warm to the touch. And so the cosmic trees stood in flames, and with it, the world burned alike. For as the canopy burned, so did the skies turn red, and the heavens were no more. As the core burned, the earth scorched, fields turned to ash, and Thea became a wasteland. Finally, as the roots burned, so did the gates to the underworld, and thus the souls of the dead could find no refuge, no peace, no purpose. You see some notes scribbled on the side of the scroll. Note 1 is from an elven scholar who says he's looking for some answers to the darkness at an old grove. There is a map to the grove and 5 silver tree bark pieces that emanate with strange power. Note 2 is clearly scribbled in a hurry by a different writer, unknown. It suggests that the elves should not be trusted and that mankind's destiny should be their own. There is a mention of a very distinct tower, and you can actually see it marked on the map as well as the Sage Tower. Skies darken, the air gets cold, and your village is visited by the souls of the dead. They do not attack, they simply wander the fields and houses they once lived in, wailing in sadness for their spirits cannot know rest. Veles himself steps up from the midst of the souls and speaks. I cannot help these souls, not until the balance is restored to Thea, but perhaps together we can take steps to help out. The fools who destroyed it all still dwell in this world. Go, Seek them out. Seek the knowledge they wield. Discover the past to ensure the future. With his last words, Veles changes into one of the souls once more, and together they move on. You feel you know where to seek this knowledge your god spoke of. You stumble across, you search the buildings and Thea is not an easy place to grow up in, but alas, grow up we must. One of your children has matured into a young adult and is ready to join your village. Becoming an adult is an important... Yes, wonderful. You made your first batch of prepared food. No longer are you a mere scavenger. Now you can cook. Crafted foods are more efficient than the raw stuff, so you may want to take them when you're out exploring, as they are lighter to carry. So now I have a harder task for you. Build me a building in your village. Any building will do. Good luck! Well done. You have your very first buildings. As you can see, it takes many resources to build a decent abode. Or perhaps your god gifted you, in which case you cheated. Remember, the better the minerals you use, the better the bonuses from your buildings. You have a limit of 10 buildings, but you can demolish the old ones to make way for new. One of the ways to win over the darkness is for you to research more recipes, grow your population, and build more houses. So get going. Thea is not an easy place to grow up in, but alas, grow up we must. One of your children has matured into a young adult and is ready to join your village and rebuild Thea. Becoming an adult is an important rite. You enter an underground complex that turns out to be some old, long-forgotten dungeon. You're not sure what used to be. Inside, there are two main tunnels leading deeper into the complex. You take the right turn and go down a wide corridor with many doors on both sides. You try one of the chambers, and you see it must have been some old jail, as there are many open cells with iron bars. You enter an underground inside, you take the left turn and go down a long, winding. The books were just too rotten to salvage anything at all, so instead you gather up some. You enter, you come back. You come across what looks like a dried up log. As you get closer, you see it has eyes and looks up at you. It seems it is trying to speak to you.
Ah, the Sister Mokosh, or her children must have sent you my way. I am nearly turned into ash, but I need your aid. There is a filthy abomination I once called my brother, a bouquet, a supposed guardian spirit gone terribly rogue. I have no more strength to find him and kill him, but if you accept, I will give you all aid I can. Thank you.
You see the tree slowly turning into ashes before your eyes. You feel a warm breeze in the air, and you feel. hear a strange commotion coming from the nearby bushes, a sort of cross between a squeak and a deep grumble of a salivating dog. As you approach, you see a weird-looking brown ball of disheveled fur, with big yellow eyes staring back at you. The creature is no bigger than a fox and has bat-like wings, a snarly smile with a range of sharp teeth, and it smells badly. It is apparently stuck in some hunter's trap. You recognize the trap to be orc-made. After a closer examination, you realize this may be a skshak, a relatively harmless house demon, who usually settles inside a household and, if treated right, brings good fortune to its housemates. You approach the trap carefully and gently dismantle it. Right, I'm gonna let you go, little fella. Just don't go all monstrous on us now, okay? The creature nods frantically, still squealing from the trap digging into its little body. You release the skshak, and as you do so, it tries to hobble away from you. After a few steps, it stops, looks up, and squeaks before speaking up.
Are you going to eat me? Oh, I am thanking you. I speak your speech not well, but I try to tell you. Weak is my body. I smile as I join Mokosh in the dirt soon in peacefulness. Thanking you, friends. Your tongue calls me Skshak and House Demon. Funny names. And so I am both and in none. But I tell you now of a house because you're friends and good, and I warn you. Once there was a house and there was joy and laughter. Once it was a place of magics and yummy foods. Then the darkened time came, and no longer a demon I was, no longer helped my mistress. I cried as my eyes looked on her evil. No longer my lady, no more joy, all sad and angry and dead. But not gone, or alive, but not living. I tell you the house, because you helped me from the nasty trap, you good people. So please help my mistress now. Free her from her trap, and she may be dirt with me and stop her bad, bad madness.
The creature falls onto the ground, clutching its stomach in pain, and before your very eyes it begins to disintegrate into dirt. With its last breath, it goes on.
Beware, friends. She's crazy, got treasures. Set her free.
The skshak is gone, and all that is left is a scrap of paper with a badly drawn map on it. You find the remains of an old town, built in solid stone, with a large central building that even in its crumbled and rotting state looks very impressive. Like many such places, you feel the cold draft of the ever-present dark mist lurking in every corner. You see a faint light coming from one of the towers in the central building, and you know this is where you must go. You enter the old building, and soon realize it must have been a place of great knowledge, as even in the entrance hall, there are vast shelves with remnants of books on them. Indeed, as you go in deeper, you find a rusted shield with the words, "The pen is mightier than the sword, and the sword of knowledge defeats any foe." Before you make another step, you are met by a hooded stranger. "Welcome to the Grand University of Cracovia. How may I be of assistance?" he chimes, as if nothing was awry in the world. "Ah, yes. You must be referring to Professor Common from the Human Advances Department. He's been listed as being on a sabbatical in an old tower for almost a century now. Or perhaps you speak of his esteemed colleague, Professor Hufker? He too likes towers, although he has been reprimanded for using illegal magic, you know. You may want to go up and speak to the board if your interest lies in either professor's field." "Excellent. You must be from another foreign delegation then. I've been told there might be latecomers. The board meeting is on the 3rd floor, in the Thorn Rose room." You look towards the stairway, and you see it is crumbled and full of cracks, but it should be fine to climb. You go upstairs and find many more empty, eerie rooms, filled with rotten bookshelves and destroyed books, laboratories with smashed equipment, and lecture rooms with decaying tables and the stench of death. But as you enter one such lecture room, you see that at the center, by a large round table, sit 6 people, dressed in academic gowns. One of the figures at the table turns to you, and for a second you see only a skull. But then you blink, and an old man's face stares at you. "Hello there. I see you have come seeking answers, yes? How did you find us? We were cursed long ago, never to be found by a living soul, and I dare say you look alive." "Ah, so they are finally strong enough to try and regain their powers, and so they send you to seek answers." In short, we were the ones who took the power of the Pantheon to ensure our colleagues could burn the cosmic tree without interference. It was not easy, nor done without the aid of powerful and evil magic, but it was done. Each god you see had their own duty, their domain, and it was both their strength and their weakness. By hitting them all at once, we also didn't give them a chance to aid each other as they normally would. Well, that's a funny story in itself, I suppose. We were tricked by the Human Advancement Department. We were presented with false data to suggest that the gods were about to destroy all life, that they'd grown arrogant and wanted to wipe Thea of humans to create a new, more obedient kind. Anyway, it was all a lie, and those who knew the real reason are no longer with us. Yeah, in hindsight, it all seems rather ridiculous. But you don't know how it is when you're in the zone. And it was a good theory in principle. I mean, there is no definite proof that the gods didn't plan our demise. Our plans were cosmically big, as it were, and so we needed help. Help that a few would be willing to give, and even less capable enough to provide. A mage arrived on our doorstep, offering all the right answers. Even after we figured he was the famed Dark Lord, banished ages ago in the Great War of the Eye in the Westerlands. We still couldn't say no. It was him or nothing. Oh, don't get me wrong. We knew we were working with evil, but the pursuit of knowledge, of understanding, the very notion we could defy the gods, it was glorious. I think the Dark Lord didn't even break a sweat convincing us. There were suspicions. Some gods even took notice, but the Dark One was clever and diverted their gaze every time. building a fake army in his old stronghold and sending out omens of his return worldwide. This was step one of our plan. This was how we would trap the supreme gods. Yes, like Perun and Mokosh in the Easterlands, every land in Thea had their own. They needed to be broken first, else their power would protect the others. Mokosh we could not lure away. She is wise and careful. But Perun, well, let's just say he was keen to go into battle. Very keen. Ah yes, Veles, who sat in the roots of the tree, guarding the gates to the afterlife. He would lose power from the cosmic tree's demise, but we needed him distracted more than most. But Veles is not only the master of the underworld, he is also the lord of magic, and some say he was of the elven kin first, before he became god. We attacked the western islands, where the elves dwelt when they wished to leave the human realms. Veles ran to their aid, and so did many elven guardians. Oh no, of course not. Like with many others, we had to make a trap. In this case, we invented a device that would target all creatures of elven descent. Once we had all the greatest heroes in one place, we detonated the hellish thing, and it spread like wildfire. It would not kill any of them, you know. It was supposed to overload their magic, so that for a time they would be rendered unconscious. But you see, the device had a strong side effect. Only that afterwards, when the tree burned, the connection we made with the device, it spread a dark curse to all elven kin, killing millions. But what you need to know is that the device cannot be reversed as such, and yet there are rumors of an elven survivor who is the key to all this. Seek out the Oracle. She will guide you. Before I tell you, we must ask a favor. We have been cursed to stay here, neither alive nor dead, for eternity, as punishment for our actions. A sentence we accepted with grace and understanding. It is not often you get to destroy the world and nearly kill off gods. However, we wish to be freed now. Once champions of the gods, like yourselves, realized our crime, they came to seek retribution. But the Dark Lord wanted to be sure the world burns, and so he cloaked this place from any mortal eye. Without the gods' guidance, no one could find us and learn the truth. Then came a lone spirit, claiming to be an echo of the Pantheon. The spirit cursed our souls to eternal damnation for our arrogance, making us unliving and bound to this building till the end of days. There is a way to try and free our souls from these unliving bodies. With the underworld shut, we will still roam Thea, but at least we will be free. Yes, many of us share your enthusiasm for the punishment. We are tormented by our faults, believe me. But to be stuck like this forever. If you kill us, we will only suffer the pain of death, but eventually we will return, marked by another scar. But if you use your connection to the gods to break our curse, perhaps we can be released. The old man nods, his face twisted in a mixture of fear and sadness. I have imprinted the location you seek in your minds. You will find it whenever you seek it. You feel the knowledge of the place you seek enter your mind, and so you leave the university and its doomed fellows to their cursed fate. The academics simply nod and return to their table. You hear them debating the merits of your decision. As you abandon this place of knowledge, you feel a dose of approval from your deity, although within your hearts you know this was not exactly the route you should have taken. see a man in worn-out armor with insignia unknown to these lands. He is standing by a rock, clearly deep in thought, as he does not see you approach. When you look closer, you see he is looking at a sword half embedded in the rock. The man jumps up, startled by your voice. He grabs the hilt of his sword, but does not draw it. He takes a few steps back and speaks. How dare you disturb a king's moment of peace? I mean, I'm sorry, old habits. I am no king, not anymore. But you, my friends, look like, well, potentially, that is, I mean, you could maybe be called knights, right? My name is Arathor. I have traveled here from afar in the west, led by an ancient quest from my forefathers. I was led to believe that this sword will help me rebuild my kingdom and save us from the darkness. Alas, I have lost all of my knights just getting here. And now that I am faced with the sword, those blasted demons, they have cursed me with weakness, and I am unable to fulfill my destiny. The sword is my test, my burden, and my fate. It will not serve any other. My time is running out. I must return to my kingdom soon, or all shall be lost. Now, the sword is for me to claim, but as king, I can appoint you my knights, and you could claim it in my stead. The magic binding the weapon in stone will permit it, I think. Will you become my knights? Knights? Oh, well, a knight is a brave warrior, sworn to serve their king and god, to uphold the law. It is a man. Sorry, well, I suppose in my kingdom we only appoint men, but desperate times. So, it is a person who is righteous and honorable. Now, I solemnly swear I will release you from my service once the deed I ask is done, and I hold the sword in my hand. Will you accept? Wonderful. I knew fate would provide my salvation. I did not know if your hearts were pure enough, but your agreement to serve my purpose, with no promise of a reward, proves that you are indeed the ones I seek. Now, by the power of a rightfully anointed King of Camroth, I pronounce you Knights of Camroth, and I command you to take the sword for me. Together and pull out the sword from the stone. It looks like an ordinary weapon, except that it seems undamaged from its unusual sheath. When you hold it in your hands, however, you feel a surge of strange power coursing through your veins, and it feels really good. The king drops down on one knee as he accepts the sword from you. He speaks, and his voice becomes more forceful and clear than before. Well done, my knights. You have passed the test of loyalty and purity of soul, for this sword is known to lead its keepers astray. An ancient bloodline runs in my veins, one that has, in the past, both failed and succeeded in this very test. It has always been my fate to hold this blade and see what I am made of. And since I do not heed the urge to cleave you where you stand, I am hopeful that I too have passed. I release you from your oaths, Knights of Camroth. May the fates bring you strength and prosperity. I also give you this map. It will lead you to a bridge where you will be tasked with a test, and if you pass, a treasure will reveal itself to you. I meant to find it myself, but it seems fate had other plans, so go forth and seek it out. I will now travel back to my lands, and using the sword, I will try to reclaim my kingdom and restore the Eternal Tower to ward off the darkness. I wish I could tell you more, but it seems other lands are in peril, and it is a knight's duty to protect and defend. Alas, I am also a king, and I must first right the wrongs of my own people. I feel a great destiny within you, and I hope you will succeed in your own quest one day. Farewell. As you delve deeper and deeper into the forest, the trees become taller and stronger with every step. Many are darkened, withered, or twisted by the darkness, but still, they are more glorious than anything you've seen so far. There is an air of mystery and magic around you. When you look up, you begin to see the trees are more than they seem. Slowly, as if some mist is lifted from your eyes, you see hanging bridges, then the frames of houses built into the trees themselves, stairwells winding up from the roots to the very top, even sculptures and long-forgotten lantern holders. This must have been an elven city. The city has seen better days for sure. Now that you see it, you have no idea how you missed it before. Every tree, bridge and house is grand and beautiful, but they look empty, not only because there seems to be no life here, but there is a much deeper sense of solitude and sadness. When you touch one of the trees, you feel a soft powder on your hands, and you realize that all of them are covered in a thin layer of grey ash. You try to climb up using one of the wonderfully carved winding staircases that should lead you right to the top of this wondrous city. You soon realize the grey ash is also very slippery, so it will be a real challenge to go up. Climb up proved to be very tricky, and although you eventually make it up, you feel strangely weakened by the effort. The view from up here is breathtaking. A whole city grows within these treetops as if it were a natural part of the forest, and yet the houses are refined with intricate wooden carvings. The passageways amongst the tree branches adorned with colorful crystal formations that must have been used for lighting in the past. And every building seems like it was made with passion and artistry. You doubt how practical this was, but it is extraordinary for sure. As you stand looking in awe at the city frozen in time, you feel like there is something watching you. You search through many houses, still slowly and carefully so not to fall to your deaths. You find dining rooms set up for a feast, sleeping chambers with beds made up, playrooms with toys lying ready for use, and even an armory. Alas, when you try to touch anything, it turns into ash before your eyes. As you stand baffled in one such room, a soft, sad voice speaks to you. And thus you have followed my path and stand before me as I hoped. Welcome, young ones. I am Alice, once of the Silver Oak people. Now, well, a memory of the past, I suppose. When you turn, a slender, tall elf, garbed in green armor and long ashen hair stands before you. Were it not for the ever-empty black eyes and the grey ash covering the soft skin, you would likely think this to be an avatar of the gods themselves. I am sorry if I have startled you, young ones. This was not my intent. I am the last of the old Silver Oak clan, and I was cursed to remain here for eternity, lest my people become ash, the same way you saw happen with any object here. As long as I remain, they are safe, but alas, never allowed to return home, nor speak to me. To answer all your queries, let me tell you my story. Just as I told you, I am here alone, unable to ever see my kin. It has been 1,000 suns, and I fear I am feeble in my resolve. Even with the darkness killing most of my kind, I do feel that some are still out there, living under this wretched sickness that devours Thea, and yet I cannot endure my solitude no more. And yes, elves are akin to magic, but alas, this curse, much like the wretched darkness itself, cannot be lifted by ones inflicted with it. Only the one who cursed me can break it. Oh, I apologize. I forget myself. But I suppose in your measurements it has been 500 years. But we digress. My curse was cast by my lover, scorned and wounded. His hatred grew as strong as our love once was. You see, I chose to stay with my people, rather than leave in banishment with him, and for this, he confined me to this wretched fate. And now for my plea. I have sensed his presence nearby, and while in the past I had no recourse to reach out to him, I was able to find you this time. Please, I implore you, go to him and beg for my release. I will give you this red ribbon. It has our initials sewn into it, and he will know it is from me. Speak to him and set me free. In return, once the curse is lifted, I will reward you with a blessing of elven magic. Wonderful. I only ask that you try, nothing more. I thank you for your time and effort. Even if you were to fail, you have shown kindness. His name is Zadra, and beware, he is of course a mage of some great esteem. Here, have a small token of my gratitude, and a map of where I felt the tower of Zadra surfaced. As you look around and admire the world, you see something of interest in the distance. You spot the outlines of some old graveyard ahead. Perhaps there is something of interest there. You decided to build a new house in the village to improve your lifestyle. The construction is going well, or so it seems until the whole thing collapses on your workers. You rescue the builders, and one of them even feels stronger after this experience.